Okay, mambo, how are you doing? Karibu kwetu. Today's video is going to be a podcast, but I'm just doing it in form of a video. Cause I had asked on my Instagram, which is bintimalu.com, whether I should do this, and a lot of you said yes. So here I am. You will see that I have my mic visible today just because usually I have it to the side or on top and out of frame, but for the case of the podcast, I want it to be straight right in front of me. So just excuse this part, and then now we can officially start. Oh, by the way, if you see me looking to the side, I am looking at my notes because I need notes for this. I can't, I need some kind of outline to guide me when I'm creating the podcast. So that's what I'll be looking at if you ever see footage of me looking here. Mambo, karibu kwetu. Welcome to another episode of 𝚘𝚎𝚜. I'll go straight to the point and try not to divert from today's topic. In today's episode, I will be sharing my opinion and thoughts and that of my fellow Africans when it comes to the Black Lives Matter movement. I'm currently recording this as a video, so if you don't know, I have a YouTube channel. You can check the video version of this on youtube.com/bintimalu. That's BINTIMALU. Before we proceed any further, please check out blacklivesmatter.com. I believe they have more information on the movement as well as resources that can help the movement if you are interested in being involved in the movement. The Black Lives Matter movement was founded in 2013 in response to justice for Trayvon Martin. I remember that occasion quite clearly. So Trayvon Martin had a hoodie and he was walking down the street, and this gentleman thought he was some sort of robber or some sort of threat, and he shot him. The thing is, he walked free. They didn't charge him for murder or anything. It was considered as self-defense. I was perplexed and very shook. Like, that is one of the most defining moments in my life in terms of, let's say, police injustice, social injustice, and racism. It blew my mind. I was in disbelief. It was so clear based on the evidence that this poor boy was shot for no reason. I don't have all the details, but if you do your research, if you Google Trayvon Martin, you will find all the information on him. And since then, there have been so many cases of black men and women dying in the hands of police or dying due to racism. That has made the Black Lives Matter popular. I'm not trying to be, to make it seem like it's some sort of trend of fame, but it shed more light. It helped people to be able to relate more to the Black Lives Matter just because this was happening in the communities. We saw it in news, we saw it on social media, and there was nothing that was being done for the justice of these individuals. And I believe, well, based on their website as well, that is how the Black Lives Matter movement was founded. So when it comes to the issue of Black Lives Matter, for a long time, I have been silent about it. I knew it was happening. I saw the news. I saw it on social media. I had stories of it, but there wasn't a point where I would address it like how I'm addressing it today, or where I'll be addressing it quite often on my social media or on any platform that I was on, or even discuss about it with my friends. The main reason why I chose to be silent was because I felt like that was not my story to tell. I was born and raised in Africa. My upbringing is African based. I have no clue what it feels like to be raised in America as a black person or as an African. For me to talk about something that I could not relate to or that I have experienced, I felt like it was a bit hypocritical of me. I can't talk about something that I don't know or I haven't gone through. And in addition, for the time I have lived here in the United States, I have not experienced racism. It might have been, I've had a few experiences of ignorance where like people are just unaware of what Africa was or the fact that I could speak English. But they're just like small ignorant things here and there. I haven't had somebody walk towards the opposite direction just because I was walking on their path. I haven't had anybody get off the elevator because I got on it. I have never had anybody call me any sort of racial slurs or any of the experiences that majority of the black people in America have had. So that made me very, very hesitant to talk about this issue and the movement. Another main reason was that I wanted the people who experience this on a daily basis, the social injustice, this racism, to share their stories and their experiences. I didn't have one to share, so I felt like my silence will make their stories louder, if that makes any sense. I mean, it sounds a bit hypocritical, it sounds like an excuse, but that was the mentality that I had, and maybe might still have. That is the mentality that I think a lot of us might have. This year, it all changed. One of the main reasons was that I had a nephew who was born this year and who will be raised in this country. He is African, he is black, and the idea that he might be going through this, it really breaks my heart. I don't want him to be raised in fear. I want him to remember his childhood as a great experience where he could explore and become whatever he wants. I want him to be in a society where he feels loved and cared for. There is also Monica, who you've been seeing on my channel. I have featured her on my Instagram as well as my YouTube channel. And she's also growing up in this society. She is 12 or 11, 12 or 13. And I don't want her to experience what I see on TV or the story that I hear. They're horrific. I don't want her to ever go through that experience. So I might not have a story to tell, or I might not have these experiences. But if we keep on heading this direction, my nephew is going to experience the same thing. Monica will get to experience that at some point. And that is the reason I believe in the Black Lives Matter, and I hope that this movement will create major change in our generation, and if not that, in the upcoming generation. I really truly pray that things change for the better. I asked some of my friends and people who I come in contact with on social media, who by the way are all Africans, to share their thoughts on what they think the Black Lives Matter movement is all about and what role do they currently play in it. What role can they play in the Black Lives Matter movement? And this is what they had to say.
Hey, so what I think of when I hear Black Lives Matter is celebration. That's the word that comes to mind when I hear that, because for so long there has been the narrative that has been forced upon us, the stereotype, and very little acknowledgement, very little celebration. So Black Lives Matter to me is an opportunity to celebrate diversity, to celebrate who we are. My role in the Black Lives Matter and whether it relates to me or I can relate to it, I think in Africa there are like other issues that are, kind of unfolding. And I relate to it in the sense that Black communities have been oppressed for a very long time, and it is very important at this moment to be able to speak and own our voices and celebrate ourselves. So that is how, I relate to it. With regard to the role, I'm having conversations in my circles and my environment. So, with my friends, with my family, also educating myself on Africa's history and Black communities, their history in the West and in the UK and in Europe, and trying to maintain a sense of I just say monitoring and trying to rest as much as I can, because that's also an important part of it, is to protect your peace, is to rest, is to recalibrate, because you do need to, most of the time, Africans and Black people have to be vigilant, so it takes a toll. So it's good to take a moment and rest.
So the Black Lives Matter movement, to me, symbolizes the Black American, and I will specifically say the Black American fight for the end of unjust killing of unarmed Black men, and also just not crying out against the racism that they have experienced over time. That's what it stands for to me. What role can I play, or do I play in this movement? I don't think I've played an active role in the movement. One thing I've done is just have open conversations with people who are willing to disagree, and people who are willing to just have educated, cordial, or not cordial, but respectful debate. I've done a bit of that on Facebook just to kind of see other people's perspective, because mine differs a lot from popular rhetoric. So I guess my involvement is just in hearing what people have to say, basically.
I'll try and answer this question in less or in about a minute, but when I think about, or when I hear the phrase Black Lives Matter, two things come to mind. One, unfortunately, is injustice towards Black individuals. But two is the hope that we have in this organization to help solve, to help get rid of these injustices, to help do away with the injustice that has been done and the oppression and the violence that has been done against the Black community. When I think about what I can do, is I can educate myself. I can protest peacefully. I can call lawyers. I can call the people who can make change, and I can sign petitions. I can have conversations with people who don't really understand what the phrase stands for. And I can continue to educate myself in more ways of how I can help, or how I can support, or how I can be part of this movement, because it's not a movement for other people. It's a movement for me. It's a movement for my future children. It's a movement for my brothers, my sisters, and all my brothers and sisters in the Black community.
As an African, my perspective on how Black Lives Matter is, I think, different, because being an African and having gone to an HBCU, it clearly exposed me to what African American men go through. And it made me realize that as a Black man, it doesn't matter whether I'm African or not, the cops will still see me as a Black man. So that exposure has helped me to understand my situation and how I have to be careful, just like everybody else. Just because I'm an African, it doesn't mean that I'm not exposed to what they go through. It is unfortunate, but that's the real life that we live in. I'm Black, and I'm going to be affected by everything else. I've been profiled before. I've been in situations whereby I've seen that if I was at a different race, maybe I could have been treated better. So yeah, Black Lives Matter means a lot to me, and I thank my HBCU experience for having exposed me to what African American men go through in this country. Well, I think if someone asks me if I've been a part of the movement, or I think generally, as just because you're a black person and you've been, especially if you're a black man in this country and you've been profiled, I think you are by default already in the movement, because you always try and find ways of how you're going to make it alive to the next day. So either you find yourself subconsciously explaining to people or trying to educate them about who you really are. Yes, the recent events kind of like brought it much more forward to be much more open about it. But I think because of being a black man and you've already been profiled and you've gone through all these things, by default, you're already in the movement. And I think subconsciously, most of us have been doing things without us knowing, trying to let the masses know who we are and what we stand for and what's not right. We might not have not known that we are doing it, but that's just my opinion. It's by default.
So what role can I play in this movement? How can I be part of making the world a better and safer place? I have thought about this for the past week, and I think like the main role I can play is to listen and be an echo. As I said at the beginning of this podcast, I don't have a story to tell. I've not experienced this. I don't know how it feels like living in a society where parents have to tell their children what to do when they come in contact with the police. How do you have that conversation with your child? So I don't have those experiences, and it's not something I can speak on. But I'm going to be listening, and I will be the echo. A lot of people are saying be the voice and not the echo. I don't want to be hypocritical and talk about something I've not experienced. So I'm better off sharing the experiences of people. I'll share the images, I'll share the stories, I'll share some educational material. I'll try my best to share as much as I can about the movement, about the social injustice, about the racism. And if there's something I can support, I will support it if it's in tune with the beliefs that I have. And right now, I know that's not enough, but I believe that's a good start for me. I also think that I can be myself. And I believe that I'm a loving person. I hope I'm a loving person. I try to be as cheerful and as loving and as happy as possible. And if more of us had that attitude and loved our neighbor or the stranger as much as we love ourselves, it will make a big difference. So another role I can play is just be myself and spread love and happiness wherever I go. And also, ever since the story of George Floyd came to light, and ever since the riot started, and I was able to see how angry and how much in pain people are, I remember these people in my prayers. I don't know what they're going through, but I pray for them. I pray that God will be able to comfort them. I pray that He will be able to reveal a way for them to deal with all the pain and anger that they're going through, that is not going to harm them or their society. So I remember people and families that are affected by this in my prayers as well. As an African who was born and raised in Africa, this might not be something that I can relate to, but it is definitely something that I believe in. So here are the two questions that I have for you. The first one is, what is your understanding of the Black Lives Matter movement? And the second question is, what role can you or are you playing in this movement? Please share with me your thoughts and answers on my Instagram, bintimalu.com. I'll have a post the day this goes up, as well as you can share your viewpoints on my YouTube channel in the comment section. And I can't wait to hear what you have to say. Thank you so much for listening, and hopefully this has given you a little bit of insight on how I, as an African, what my thoughts are on the Black Lives Matter and why some of the Africans are silent when it comes to this movement. Njoo tuongee next Sunday, same time, same place. Baadaye.